Welcome to another episode of the Biker PM. I'm your host, Anthony Pavelich. Today I have with me a fellow project manager, Ben Aston. He's a digital project manager and online entrepreneur. He's the founder of Black and White Zebra, which is an indie media company on a mission to help people and organizations succeed. Ben brings over 15 years of experience in both strategic thinking and tactical implementation from a career at top digital agencies, including TAG, FCV, Dare, Wunderman, DLKW Low, and DDB. He's been fortunate enough to work across verticals including transit, utilities, FMCG, consumer electronics, e-commerce, automotive, financial services, the public sector, and retail brands. Ben's a certified Scrum Master, Prince 2 practitioner, and founder of the digital project management blog, The Digital Project Manager. So let's get started. Hi Ben, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me.
I hope you're keeping safe in these unprecedented times that we have going.
Yeah.
And
So far, so good.
Good. So let's get started with you just giving me a background and about you and the digital PM, and then we'll take it from there.
I started the Digital Project Manager as a project back in 2011, and it really came out of my desire to help people like me. And what I was, and a bit of my story is, when I got into project management from the world of advertising, I had a bit of a tough time. So I was an account manager in an advertising agency, found myself with a project manager role. Somehow the recruiter thought I could do the job. And so gave me this, well, I landed this job as a producer actually, which is kind of like a project manager, account manager hybrid. And found myself kind of floundering a bit. So about 5 years in, once I'd actually learned how to do the job a bit, started the site, the digitalprojectmanager.com, and really with the goal of helping people like me, helping people on that journey to learning how to project manage to do it better. And over the past 10 years or so, the site has developed into what's now a community of people who manage projects in a digital world. And we have more than 3,000 people in our Slack team. We have an online training course for people who manage projects and a membership as well. And really, we're trying to help people become more confident in what they're doing, help them get competent and get those hard and soft skills they need, and also connected with one another so that we can all kind of level up together as we manage projects and as we manage people.
I think it's very important to have communities like that, especially in today's world, because we have so many different projects that we run as project managers that it's difficult sometimes to connect with people that do similar projects as you. Construction, whether it be, I've done various types of projects to where I've worked with programmers that develop websites. I've done energy efficiency projects at the Department of Energy. So I have a varied background, but to get a good community like that, I think it's important because it allows you to bounce ideas off and gain knowledge and just ask questions.
Definitely. And I think one part of the importance of that community so much is, even as a project manager, I might work alongside other project managers, but project management, similar to entrepreneurship, is an individual sport.
Yes.
We're rarely we're rarely teaming with another project manager or another entrepreneur directly. And so I think because of that individualistic nature of the sport that we're playing, it can help to have community within our organization that we're working with, but also virtually as well, where we can gain insights. We can say things that maybe we think, oh, I can't say this internally in the organization because everyone will jump on me or realize that things are out of control. So having that safe space to ask questions, to learn, to understand and get better, I think is really important.
I like that you said it's individual sport, just because I've never really looked at it that way, but it is. And I've seen a lot of projects that try to have more than one project manager, and it's the problems that arises is much more than it solves.
Yeah.
Because everybody has their own idea of how a project should be run. And there's projects here in town. I know of our main train station downtown. Union Station has been under construction for a long time. And I found out after many years of it being under construction that there were two different project teams working on two different areas.
Right.
And so they rarely agreed at what point they were going to meet, where, each project team was going. So it kind of helped me understand that why at that point, and what you just said is, it makes perfect sense. It's really an individual sport, because you need to have one goal, one vision. And if you have more than that on a team, then it's going to really struggle to be successful.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, conversely, obviously, as project managers, we are on a team. We are not producers ourselves. So in
No.
that sense, it is a team sport. But when we think of if we were to compare it to sports, it's more like tennis than it is soccer, the role of project
Yes.
management. Yeah.
I mean, the project management role, I mean, you do have your project team that helps you out and everything, but you have to have somebody that, helps start that vision and bring the team in on the vision. And if you have two leaders trying to do that, then it can cause a big,
Yeah.
you
It can be
rarely
complicated.
see two project managers that see things the same way. So like you said, I like that it gives the opportunity to say things that you wouldn't normally say, and to
Yeah,
reach out for
definitely.
advice and help.
Yeah.
So I've looked through your site, and I like a lot of what your site has. I wonder if you can expand on your goals with helping other project managers. You have the education. Um, I teach college, so I understand the importance of giving back to the project management field. I teach project management at the local college, so it kind of bringing that the next generation of project managers is kind of how I see that. How did you get into the education portion of it for project management?
Yeah, well, I think after running the site for probably about 5 or 6 years, um, people just kept on asking us, "Do you have a course?" I'm a digital project manager. I'm new to digital project management. Where can I go? What can I do? And I think there is lots of formal training out there. So if you want to become a PMP, you can go on a week-long course, and you can learn about the PMBOK, Project Management Book of Knowledge, learn about all their processes and frameworks, which are super helpful. They're also really generic. And so they've built it to be able to be applied to all kinds of different situations and scenarios and projects, from infrastructure project, building projects, construction, to software. And I think the challenge is that in being that generic, obviously it's a book of knowledge. It's meant to be tailored. But if you're coming to project management new and you're not really sure about how to apply that in your situation or circumstance, I think it can be a bit overwhelming. So because we kept on getting these requests for project management training, we launched the Digital Project Manager School, which is an online 7-week project management training course. And with the goal of really helping people in the digital world, people who are in the trenches, as you were talking about, building a website project for the first time, or maybe launching an app, or it could be anything digital related, but helping people think through that environment, how they should plan their projects better, how they should start their projects better. And then once they've done that, started things off right, planned it properly, managing and controlling, and then closing the project properly as well. So we're thinking about the entire project lifecycle, but within the context of a digital environment, and how we can start, plan, manage, and control better within that environment, so that when we close the project, we've actually delivered the value that we wanted to at the beginning, and make the project worthwhile, and try and get repeat business as a result, rather than going over budget, delivering late, and not really delivering the scope that was planned. So it is super difficult in a digital world to do that, because when we're dealing with technology, things always go wrong. So a huge part of this is actually around the soft skills and the communication, managing expectations, explaining to people that we can't estimate things, or we'll just have to wait and see. But I think empowering people with that knowledge is super important. And yeah, so we launched the course a couple of years ago now, and we've had a few hundred people take the course. And people have found it, I think, in a large part, interesting, because I think people are struggling, thinking, hey, they're often the only project manager in their organization, or they're new to managing projects, and they think there must be a silver bullet that they are just missing and that they can use, and then all their projects will run perfectly. And I think what our training explains and teaches them is that there is no one size fits all, and we need to tailor it, but picking out some of the things that we can tailor to deliver projects more effectively.
Do you feel overwhelmed, overstimulated, and overworked? There's so much you need to do, but you don't know what the best way to do it is? And you're not sure where all your time goes each week? Jump on over to my website, pavproconsulting.com. You can download my free PDF, The 5 Proven Strategies to Steal Back Lost Time and Money in Your Business. And while you're there, you can book a free process discovery session. pavproconsulting.com. Move forward with confidence, focus, and productivity. It's so important. And what I like about what you said is that Book of Knowledge is a framework. I get asked so many times in my college courses from my students, what's the best template? What's the best way to do this? What's the best? There is no, and that's the difficult thing for people to understand, is there is no best. You have to tailor it. You have to scale it to what your project is and what the expectations of your client or your customer is, because you're not going to do the same thing on a month-long project that you're going to do on a year-long project.
Yeah.
You know, people are like, you're not going to gather as much information, or you're not going to go into as much detail on stakeholders and stakeholder engagement and stakeholder analysis. If your project's going to be 2 weeks, you're going to spend that first 2 weeks doing all of that.
Yeah.
And so I think that how you're going about it is going to, it's valuable, because you have to learn that you can't just come out of the classroom and know that's what that silver bullet is too. There isn't that secret. There's no secret sauce.
Yeah. And I think that's the tricky thing for people, particularly in like today's world of online courses in particular, is that there is an expectation. I mean, and you see this in Facebook ads that I get and Instagram ads, take my week-long course that's only 7 hours or whatever it is, and by the end of it, you'll be an expert in something. Well, like, the reality is you won't be. But I think the promise is there, and we're often sold this promise in the marketing that we can achieve these kind of results without having any experience. And I think that's kind of mis-selling it. But obviously it's attractive to people. People want results, and they're willing to pay money for results. So people promise results even though they can't really actually deliver on that. And I think that is the challenging thing about project management training, is that, yes, it's going to get you up to speed. It's going to give you the knowledge that you need to make better decisions. But ultimately, you're still going to need to make decisions. And some of those decisions are really tough, like you're talking about, how you apply that methodology and framework to a 2-week project versus a year-long project. How you apply that from one client or one partner or group of stakeholders to another is going to be different. And with the team that you're working with too, is going to be different. And having the experience to say, okay, well, in this situation, this is how I'm going to act and this is what I'm going to do, is, that requires some experience, some skill, and some knowledge. And I think that's where the power of community comes in, to help us make some of these decisions when we're faced with, hey, am I really overcooking this? I've got a 2-week project. Do I really need to produce a 20-page statement of work? Well, probably not. But here are some options that you could do to make that a more lightweight version. Here's how you could simplify that.
Exactly. And that's one of the problems that we have with people thinking that things are going to happen immediately. They're going to step out of this course and they're going to know everything they need to know. And they're going to be able to apply the same thing equally to everything, and you can't. And I think that's why, well, in my business, I try to tell, we have a similar focus, but yet different, because your focus is helping other project managers, helping them to understand, to work better, to where I'm trying to work with entrepreneurs to be able to understand how to run projects for their business. Like you said, every entrepreneur is different. Every business is different. Yeah. How do you need to run them for your business so that you're successful, and not think about taking this book outline and doing it that way, because it will never work. And I mean, any entrepreneur can go and look at a project management book and say, okay, this, I can go step by step, but it's not going to, that's not what is necessarily going to work for their business. And it's the same thing for project managers. It's not, you're not going to be able to look at the PMBOK, and who actually wants to sit down and read the PMBOK? It is a thick, dry book.
Yeah.
And to try to step by step apply all that to a project, and for the digital projects to know how to apply that right away is not going to happen.
Yeah. And I think that's why we try and think about things more high level around a project life cycle, about starting a project, planning it, managing, controlling it, and closing it, then if we can understand the life cycle of the project and how a project starts and how it ends, getting from A to B as effectively and as efficiently as we can, then I think that's what's most important.
And pick what works and what doesn't. And like you said, that they think that they're gonna, all their decisions may be made for them after they go through their education and then go to the job, but they still have decisions they have to make. They're gonna have to make decisions on a daily basis, on a project basis, what to include, what not to include. I've worked for companies that have no project management methodologies in place. And you have to decide, if you're a project manager going into that, how much can you implement? How much are the people willing to put effort in? And you can come up with a great project plan, but are they really going to use that project plan, or do you need to scale that back to something they're going to use?
Yeah. And I think that's why the whole debates around methodologies actually for me are really quite fruitless, because I think what it comes down to is the methodology the right methodology? Well, the question should be, well, is it actually delivering value? And
Yeah.
is it delivering value effectively? Are you getting iteratively? Are you delivering value fast? Is the process efficient? Well, if it is, then there's no need to label it with a particular word or to try and shoehorn a framework or methodology over the top of it. I think it's methodologies are abstractions of delivery processes, and it takes a process and says, hey, well, here's what, let's describe that in more abstract ways. And so I think when we can actually just focus more on the tactics, the delivery process, which is what we're talking about when we're talking about methodologies, and just focus on, okay, how can we improve this? How can we make this more efficient? And it could be that you adapt a different delivery process. It could be that we say, okay, well, let's limit the amount of things that we have in progress at any one time. We try more of a Kanban approach. It could be that you decide to run things in 2-week sprints. Maybe that's great. Maybe that works, and assigning people roles and ceremonies. But actually, I think often what works is based on the team that you have and what you're trying to deliver, and the partners or the stakeholders that you're trying to work with. So being agnostic about methodologies, I think, can be super powerful.
I agree. There's been so many that I've worked with that did not understand what a retrospective was, what a review was, the daily stand-ups, wanting to get into more detail in there. And then, so you have to figure out, well, what do you want what does your team want? And then make it work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what you're trying to do. And you can't really say, well, no, you can't do this because it's not allowed. The PMBOK says you're not allowed to spend more than 15 minutes standing up and talking. You can show that it can be counterproductive, but you have to work with what works for them. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Biker PM. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think. And remember, if you're an entrepreneur that wants to be with like-minded individuals and improving their project management skills, join the Biker PM Facebook group. Until next time.